Mark, nice to see you again. Looking back on Accrington, what do you take from that win going into Saturday?
I was pleased with the overall performance. I thought the intensity of our play was good. The pressing was what we talked about and what we're trying to see in our play. And I thought we were better in that regard. At the back, I thought the lads did really well. Difficult opponents had to stand up to the challenge, but we did that really well. And looked really secure, and that gives us a platform to be able to build our attack. So I enjoyed it. Obviously, you want to go through in cup games. We were able to do that as well. So in terms of the football we played, I was pleased with the energy that we showed and the understanding of what we've been working on in pre-season that's starting to come through, which is encouraging from the players' point of view and certainly from my point of view. So we're looking ahead to the weekend now, more of the same hopefully.
And getting into that second round, I know you'll be going there in the league season, but a trip to Wrexham, how do you feel about that personally?
There was probably other ties that we were looking at more readily, but it's a difficult tie. That was my first thought. It's not an easy place to go in this moment in time, just because of the enthusiasm they have and the attention they garner. But we can use that to our own end. So could have been worse, could have been easier, but we'll take it. We want to progress in the tournament, obviously, and I think the actual job gives us a chance to progress.
Team news-wise, we spoke to Sam Stubbs. He says other than his black eye and the stitches, we can see he's all fine after his knock. How's Andy after having the same, really, and having to be bandaged?
Yeah, Andy's been patched up in a similar way, so he's had a couple of stitches, but he'll be fine as well. Everybody's in good heart. I think we were all encouraged by the other night. We want to obviously build on that now and hopefully start to build our season from this point onwards.
How's Ash Taylor? I know he's got a little problem.
Yeah, he went for a scan and it's shown a little bit of inflammation around his Achilles, so it's going to take a couple of weeks probably to settle down to get to a point where he can return to training. But it's unfortunate for Ash, but once it settles down, then it should resolve itself quite quickly. We just need to get on top of it now so that it doesn't go into anything more serious.
Alex Patterson off the mark on Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
How impressed have you been with Alex since he's come into the club?
Yeah, he hasn't disappointed anybody. He's exactly what we thought we were getting. Great energy. He's got an eye for the goal. Obviously, his record before he got here illustrates that, but he's got off onto a really good, strong footing and start to the season, and scoring so early is important for him. Yeah. I was really pleased with the timing of his runs. Obviously, he played off Cookie, and those runs and the timing of those runs are going to improve the more the lads play together. So to see that coming off so well, and a great finish as well. Had to keep a cool head, 1v1. Not easy, but did the right thing, and good goal all round. Actually, the build-up even before it was good. So we're pleased with how Pato's started his career here. Like it sometimes takes lads a couple of games to just find their feet and understand what's required from them in terms of what I asked them and just integrating into the group. But he's fitted in seamlessly, so that's made that transition and enabled him to hit the ground running, so to speak. So I think that's why he's doing so well, because he very quickly felt part of what we were doing.
I know we spoke at times last season, obviously there was so much attention on Andy, and rightfully so, but at times last season you alluded to us that maybe you wanted to see other players chipping in with a few more goals. Is Alex one of those players that you expect?
Yeah, that was thinking.
From?
Yeah, you've heard me talk about that last year and even early in the pre-season period. So we wanted to try and address that. We think we've done really well in that regard, given the players we brought into the club. We think and feel we've got more potential to score. just because of the nature of the players that we have now. Changing formation, I think, is helping in terms of creating chances. It's about making sure we get the balance between. Obviously, last year we were one of the best defensive sides. Didn't give up too many chances to opposition, but we needed to score more goals as well. Albeit we had a decent enough total, but if we can get more goals from other areas, you can almost guarantee that Cookie will come in with a good total. So if we can add from other areas, that's going to help us.
On the formation change, how do you feel your players are adapting to that so far, Mark?
Yeah, I think it's important we get the distances right. Probably the one thing that came out of the Crawley game was that we didn't quite get the distances between the defensive line and the midfield line, so I thought it was much better on Tuesday. I think we just stepped up and stepped into challenges rather than maybe at times just being a little bit cautious and stepping away and just conceding ground. If we're going to play this way, we need to be on the front foot in all areas of the field, because I think that you're more likely to stop things developing if you nip them in the bud, and so that's really the message we want the players to take on board, is that do the dynamic defending rather than the safe defending, which means conceding ground. We don't want to do that. We want to play an opposition half if we can. So we're going to get it wrong on occasions when some press, some don't, and that balance that I'm always talking about sometimes might be a bit skewed, but the intention is what I'm starting to see. So yeah. That's a positive for us, and that's something that we can build on. And
confident when you say game plans are a little bit different from the opposition, that the lads can adapt when needed to.
Yeah, and I've still got the options to go anywhere I like, in fairness. So I'm pleased that it was important that we did some work on. Obviously, I played 3 at the back, 5 in midfield, and 3 up top sometimes when the opportunity dictated, but the reality is I can go either way. We just need to do a little bit more work on 3 at the back, just so that if we do go that way, which we've started obviously at the moment, if we go away from it and then return to it, then we should be more adept at adjusting if that's the case.
We've spoken to Richie and Sam this week, and we've asked them about these rule changes that have come in from the FL, in particular the one around time wasting, another 103 minutes on Tuesday night. As a manager, Mark, how have you found these new changes that have come in now we're a couple of games in?
I think there's an acceptance that that's how it's going to be from now on in terms of the timekeeping. I was more concerned with the level of performance at Crawley rather than any of the new directors. I think they got wrapped up in trying to apply the new rules and forgot about all the other ones, and it's affected the game adversely in my view. I thought, in fairness to the referee and his team, it was a lot better on Tuesday. So I think as time goes on, you would like to think that they'll understand that the game has to flow and it can't be all about the directives that are sent down from above. You've still got to manage the game and referee it in the correct way. So I fully expect it to settle down a bit. The timings might be different. I think that's here to stay. I think that's a reality, and I haven't got a problem with that, because there's many times last year when we got really frustrated that
the dark arts.
Yeah, just ball in play was too low, and we want to be in control of possession of games, and sometimes it's difficult to do that because teams came with the intention of just making it a messy, disruptive game. So the policy of it, I haven't got a problem with it. I think it's something that needed to be addressed. We'll see if it works, but we've played a couple of games now. We haven't seen any real difference in terms of the ball in play. So not quite sure why that is. Obviously we're adding minutes at the end, but the actual ball time in play hasn't changed to any great extent. So they'll have to crunch to the numbers and get to the bottom of that.
Colchester up next. They had to go to penalties last night like you guys did on Tuesday night. Obviously they've had a day less rest, but the weekend their game was postponed, so they'll be itching to get the league campaign off to a start. Does that make them a little bit harder to assess and to know what to expect?
A little bit. We'll obviously start get the information from the game last night, so that'll filter through today and tomorrow, and we'll feed that back to the players. But just looking from the outside, in terms of what they've gone through this week, I wouldn't suggest that was the ideal situation for them in terms of preparation. Maybe that's something that we can capitalise on, but given it's their first league game, they'll be ready to go, I'm sure. So we'll have to see how the game pans out. But I'm just looking forward to obviously being back at Valley Parade, and I'm going to be a big crowd once again, as we always have. I think we've passed that 15,000 season ticket barrier now, so that's incredible, really. You have to say. So we need to put a show on with Edge. We do this to fulfil the needs of the fans that we have and the demands that they have. So we want to give them a good day out if we can.
I asked this question to Neil Warnock at Huddersfield Town last week, because he's on 44 seasons as a manager, which I know is a lot longer than you, Mark. And he said, still on the first home game of the season, his blood's pumping, he's still up for it.
It doesn't change. That's exactly right. And well, understand why you said that. That's why you're still doing it. That's why I'm still doing it. It's all about the game time for me. Training and what leads into it and what's necessary is fine, and I enjoy that part as well. But it's always about match day and how you have to manage your resources and get the best out of people and make the right decisions at the right time. And that's the challenge for me as the manager. But I'd like to think, given how long I've been doing it, I get the majority of them right anyway.
Thanks for your time. Good luck for Saturday.
No problem. So, Mark, obviously about the first home game, we spoke a lot last season. You said about the home form needs to be up there. You know, it's important to put that sort of marker down, isn't it, from the start?
Well, if we can, yeah. I mean, we had more. I think I'm right in saying we had more home wins last year than the year before. But we always felt that there was a couple of results that we left out there, just like conceding later in games and other times when we weren't able to break down teams that came and frustrated us, and on other occasions we didn't quite get up to the mark that we needed on the day. So yeah, if we can be consistent at home, and goodness me, our away form was excellent. So if our home form can be on a par in terms of in comparison to other teams in the league, if our home form's exceptional like our away form was exceptional last year, then we'll go very close, I'm sure.
Obviously, having got to the playoffs last season, you know, the bar in terms of what the supporters are expecting will be high, won't it, from the start, because they're expecting a playoff team to take the next step.
Yeah, I haven't got a problem with that. That's the expectation we always work with and work alongside. It's there, it's not going to go away, so we embrace it and think, yeah, that is the expectation. That's the expectation that we talk about when we try and attract players here. We try and make them understand that it's a great platform for them if they want to make a mark in the game, but along with it comes an expectation and a demand on you as a player and as a member of staff. So embrace it, enjoy it, and see where it takes you.
Obviously, as you touched on about Colchester, it's been a very disruptive start. They've got another long journey. You know, for a regionalised cup tie the other day, they had a long journey. You know, it's something you possibly can play on.
Well, we'll see. I think the reality is we always want to start quickly in games, and maybe we can do that. We'll endeavour to do that, as we always do. So maybe we might be able to catch them out, but clearly they will have done their homework on us and have a game plan which will, from their point of view, will hopefully nullify the threat we have. But I just sense where we are in terms of what we're trying to do and our understanding of what works and what doesn't work quite as well, and those areas that need a little bit more time just to really solidify in terms of what we're trying to approach the game and in what way. I just think from our point of view we're really keen to get going and get a home form up and running. It's going to be vitally important for us. It's important that, albeit we had more wins, it was still a low number in comparison to other teams that were at the top end of the pitch, top end of the league rather. So if we can get obviously our home form on our own pitch up to a level that we're really happy with, then that's going to go a long way to determine whether or not we're successful or not.
As you said about attractive players, giving them that platform. I mean, you're being linked with John Kamani Gordon, that Palace, who did very well at Carlisle last season. I mean, presumably when you're trying to bring players in, looking at the loan market or whatever, the success of Scott Banks last year and Tyreek Wright for half a season, is that sort of something you can present to clubs and sort of say, look, this is what this player's done?
Yeah, we won't get every one of them right, and there's been a few that haven't quite worked out, and that's unfortunate because it is a risk, because for the most part when you bring the loans in, they're unknown quantities, and you can't predict how some players react to the platform that they're offered, and so we've done well in certain regards. Other things haven't quite worked out as well as we'd hoped, but for the most part, when we do get it right and players flourish in the environment that we have here, not only on the training ground but at the stadium as well, then it's huge uplift for them in terms of their own development. And I think I'm right in saying Scotty Banks has re-signed and gone out on loan into Germany, so that shows that the work he was exposed to here and how he was able to develop himself by playing week in, week out, that shows what can happen if you do well here. So we wish him all the best, obviously, and there'll be others in the future that will have that same opportunity.
And again, it's also building relationships with the clubs involved, and if you're working with these Premier League clubs and the player does well, they're more...
Yeah, I think everybody looks at us in terms of what they want when they make the decision to allow their good young players to go out on loan. We tick a lot more boxes than most, so the fact we have huge crowds, that replicates sometimes we have bigger crowds than the ones that are at higher leagues and are sending the players out on loan, so they know that if they can deal with what League Two and teams coming up against Bradford, if they're loanees and young players coming into that environment can cope with that, then they're going to have a chance, because all managers and clubs want to be able to trust those young players to do a job if they're called upon. So if they've had a good loan spell at a place like Bradford, then they're more inclined to give them a chance higher up the ladder.
Obviously, with 3 weeks to go till the deadline, usual question: are you getting nearer making progress in terms of?
We're having conversations all the time. I've said before, sometimes late in the window when you think you're done, then all of a sudden something will happen, or you think, well, actually getting that player in actually makes sense, and so there can be late business and you can do good business. I mean, we mentioned Scotty Banks, he came in reasonably late in the window, so it can happen. So we're always open. We're not closing the door now. Why would you? It don't make sense to. So we're still very much seeing what's out there and seeing if something that we can do. Clearly, it's all about what we can do financially as well, because we're not throwing transfer fees out there because we can't afford to do that. But certainly we can offer a lot to. As I've highlighted already, we can offer a lot to players who want to come and try and develop.